Drummers Against Implied Timekeeping, Richard D'Albus. Recently, I'm watching a history channel with the History Guy, and I enjoy his channel on YouTube. I highly recommend it for those of you who enjoy history. But as we get older and we are on a drum channel here, I have always enjoyed sharing with younger drummers, older drummers from the past. And this particular video keys in on a couple of guys. I want those of you who have not heard of these guys, you should. Maybe 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years back, I had a series called Psycho Riffs in Rock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've also had, why is Ringo great? Why is Keith Moon great? And I have top 5 things, the best punk drummers, the top 5 pop drummers, and various other things. I enjoy it as a supplement to what I teach. It's important to have a historical context in our great form, playing the modern drum set. But I want to talk about 2 drummers that I knew in the old days that young people should know about. And let me tell you a little bit about the background. One, around 1971 to 1975, just in a prime time, I was around a lot of black people, either through a record store I worked at and a record wholesaler that I knew. So there were a lot of black record stores where I was in the tri-state, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area. And I was almost forced to listen to a lot of black, not so much R&B music, but bands that were coming up. And they would be something like the Jimmy Castor Bunch, Black Ivory, Slave, Brass Construction, when I think about it. You know, all in the years like 71 through 75. And I had been playing drums quite a long time and was listening to mostly rock and progressive music. But recently, maybe the past year, I had gone back and listened to a couple of these type of bands. There were black groups with horns and just new funk styles were coming in from 71 to 75. Now, one band that stuck out because of the drummer was a band called New Birth. They were on Soul Train, had a couple of minor hits. But the drummer for this band, New Birth, his name was Nate Neblett. Nate Neblett. And then he's unknown, and he should be known historically. And I want a lot of drummers to listen. I can understand that. That was the track I was keying in on, and he has other tracks where he's laying down great time, tastefully, intelligently, and nobody knows who he is. I know who he is, and I want those drummers who follow me know who Nate Neblett is, because New Birth was a great band. I gotta say, they had a lot of great stuff. They had a couple of minor hits you may not know. They were ballads, but the funky stuff with the horns were really outstanding. And Nate Neblett was the reason for it, in my view. They had great vocals, and the bass player was very in the pocket. But he was just a great timekeeper. And he died recently, maybe 3 years ago. And if I didn't do this video, who the heck was going to remember Nate? But I remember him in my formative years when I was in junior high school. And I remarked, this was one of those bands that I had the records because of where I worked. And I knew he was a great player. And I want to give a hats off and tribute to this guy. Regardless of what you're doing, know who he is. Nate Neblett. All right? Got to do that. Now, also, periodically, for the past 40 years, I need a jolt of a band that I've known since, I think, 1975. And they are maybe an extension of Sly and the Family Stone. In my opinion, the greatest band of the 60s. Now, this band that I'm going to talk about is an extension of that style of bringing together so many different things: R&B, funk, rock, blues into a pop kind of picture. Sly and the Family Stone were really dominant from 69 to 73. But there was another band out of Atlanta, Georgia, and they kind of took what Sly and the Family Stone was doing and got hard rock into their sound. And they were really the originators of hard rock and funk. And they were called Mother's Finest. That band had a singer named Joyce Kennedy. She's still around. She plays Europe all the time. Thank God, because Germany had embraced her in maybe the mid to late 70s, and she has made a living pretty much. They never really had a big hit. They did have some things that were within the R&B charts, but they've held together, but not the original lineup. But the real lineup with the drummer I want to mention is a guy named Bobby Borden. Bobby Borden was a rock drummer out of Atlanta, Georgia. I have no idea what's happened to him. Please, if anyone knows what's happened to Bobby Borden, let them know I'm giving him the hats off. He was an extraordinary and creative drummer, and he is not known. Now, as a reference point, I want those of you back to Psycho Riffs in Rock, my 5 videos that I did. Bobby Borden has a riff on their most famous song called Baby Love. Live at Rock Palace in Germany in 1978. Just go on there. Live, Mother's Finest, 1978, Baby Love. That's the truly best lineup of the band. And on the song Baby Love, at 2 minutes and 6 seconds, there is a riff. And that would easily be in Psycho Riffs in Rock. If I was to do another video, 6 maybe. But at 2 minutes, 6 seconds, listen to that riff. I am of the opinion that that might be the greatest 2 bars ever played in a drum riff. The greatest 2 bars, Bobby Borden, Mother's Finest, Baby Love, live, 1978, Rock Palace. Listen to it. And then about 4 more bars down the line, he comes up with another fantastic riff. I don't want to list it because they'll demonetize it, and I'll get striked, and YouTube is changing in a way I don't even want to deal with it. So if I was to put the video up, it wouldn't be enough to have both riffs in it. So, and I don't want to edit at all, so I can't edit. But my point is, listen to that at 2 minutes, 6 seconds, and then about 20 seconds later, there are 2 extraordinary riffs in there. And I want you to know who he is. Not many people know who Bobby Borden is, but he was an extraordinary drummer with maybe the greatest drum riff ever. And when I think about that, because I run in and out of Mother's Finest. Sometimes I just need to hear them, and then it'll be a couple of years. But as I say, today's video is just to give a hats off to those 2 guys, Nate Neblett, Bobby Borden. Know who they are. No matter where you are in your journey as a drummer, no matter how many bands you play in, and I highly recommend to venture out into many different styles, to know a little bit of the history of a lot of these guys who just aren't heard of. And I guess I'm the drummer's version of the History Channel. Hats off to that guy. But that's what I want to do. I have things planned as far as teaching in the open-handed position. I'm working on something that is extremely difficult to play, but I enjoy it. And I'll show you that as soon as I can figure it out. Welcome to everyone who's visiting here. I have 312 videos with this one now, and many things to look at. I teach in the open-handed position, and I want to enhance your creativity as a drummer. And I have a unique way of doing it. So thanks for visiting. Subscribe always, because your subscription is the support, and I thank you for that always. So this is just a hats off to these 2 guys, and my praises to all of you who have supported me. I'll put my PayPal account in the message box. Anything you do to support what I do, thank you for that. This situation I'm in is difficult, as I've mentioned before, but I'll just keep going until someone stuffs me. And if you have any questions on any of the things that I teach, any of the things that you see, contact me and I'll answer them as best I can. All right? My best to all of you for looking in. And let me know what you think of Nate Neblett and Bobby Borden.